I think the first thing that was in my head right away is like, I can't wait to build with this.
You've already seen it in voice and video streaming applications like Zoom and Meet.
It'd be interesting too with the cookies and things that exist on websites, how much information it holds.
That would allow you to change and adapt the narrative of any game that you're playing.
Consider the fact that you are giving your clients memories of interacting with you that you do not possess.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is October 17th, 2024, and you're listening and watching the Daily AI Show Live. And today we're going to be doing a deep dive into OpenAI's Realtime API, which came out, I don't know, a week or two ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. It's everything with AI is, it's everything comes together and then you forget how long it's been. But regardless, this has been a really interesting addition to the API space. Tons of people building on it using, if you go on the YouTube, you can see all sorts of people building all sorts of cool, fun use cases using this API. So now that it's been out a little bit, that's when we usually like to do a show. Sometimes if we do this like the day after, there's just not enough out there to really talk about what's hitting, what's missing. And we really want to be a little bit more informative. So welcome to the show. This is a Daily AI Show. You can always go and find us over at our website, thedailyishow.com. You can hit that little QR code that's on the screen now. That'll help you learn more about the show, but you can also sign up for our newsletter that comes out every Sunday that has more information than what you can just get on the show. With us today, we have Beth, Jyunmi, Andy, Karl, and I'm Brian. So we almost have a full house. And yeah, this is, I don't know who wants to kick this off as far as talking about the Realtime API, maybe what it is. I do have it open up on the platform, so we can certainly show some examples of just using it from the platform side without doing any sort of hard coding. The playground or platform, depending on what you want to call it, from OpenAI has always been, ever since I got into, learning from Rachel Woods or whatever, is a really, really easy user interface for playing with new API calls and different models and different temperatures and all these kind of things. So we can certainly show that as well. But who wants to kick this off? Karl, do you want to get us started?
Sure. Yeah. So when the Realtime, I think this actually went all the way back when they announced GPT-4o, where they were showing the voice vision mode and people were talking to it real time. They had a bunch of various examples. And I think the first thing that was in my head right away is like, I can't wait to build with this because of the the opportunities in pretty much every single space. So that took a bit of time not that long. It's actually June, July, August, September, really 4 months. It just took 4 months to get the API for it in a little bit. So now we have the voice API portion. And, we can show it in a bit in the playground. I think most people have access to it and can build. It's a little bit pricey at $15 per hour, but like pretty much any single model or any single thing that we've used in AI, it's pretty much the fastest depreciating product where everything becomes really, really cheap. So I would suspect within 3 to 6, we're probably going to get, it's going to be even cheaper. So anything that you can do with regular ChatGPT through text to text, now you can do, and it's native, voice to voice, text to voice, right? And coming soon, I would imagine video to voice, image to voice, and so on. So, and I believe it's a new model where the previous model, the previous voice model that you got with the app was, I think it was 3 models. One that had to transcribe your voice to text. Then the text had to be sent to the model to be reviewed and then turned back into a voice and output. Hence the latency or the delay that, the little wait and the haptic feedback you got. Well, I have an iPhone, so there was a little bit of a delay, a little bit of feedback, maybe a second, 2, 3, 4 seconds, and then the response. But now you can interrupt it, responds really, really quickly. So I believe it's 1 model now, not 3, which, takes out the latency. but I want to think about what can you do with this thing. I think that's the big piece. My first thought was, imagine if you can talk with any business that's trained on their data, just like you would an AI chatbot, but now you can just talk to it and have that full conversation with a business. What's your pricing? How do I use your product? Here's my problem, so on, so on, and so forth. And you're talking to it in real time. That impacts online engagement and interaction completely, because it changes how you engage. If you don't have to go to a website, navigate all the menus and so on. You just ask for it, right? And, as we are all in the AI space, we're all kind of greedy. What happens when we want the agentic features? So it isn't just, hey, tell me about your product. Hey, book me a demo. Here's my information. I could be walking down the street. I don't have to sit anywhere. I don't have to look at my screen. I just talk to it. And there's so many examples. I actually wanted to put out an example of this one audio up. Yes. So this is done by Sawyer Hood. He made it like 3 days or 4 days right after the actual release. I thought it was really, really neat.
Cheap sandwich.
I'm on Souvla's website now. Let me look for the option to order a black sheep sandwich. I didn't find an option to order directly from the homepage. Let me check the navigation menu for a way to access the menu or place an order. I found the order online link in the navigation menu. Let me proceed to place an order for the black sheep sandwich. We're now at the online ordering page for Souvla. It seems we need to find a nearby location to start the order. Could you please provide a city or zip code?
Yeah, can you pick the Hayes Valley location?
I found the added.
Hey, actually, can you make that Greek style when you add it?
The black sheep sandwich has been added to your cart with the Greek style modification. Would you like to proceed to checkout?
There's actually 2 of them. Can you remove one?
I've removed one of the black sheep sandwiches, leaving only one.
Okay, so I think he took a little bit of the HeyGen. I don't know really how he built it, but he has the voice component integrated. But he took a little bit of the HeyGen agent that was a release like 6-7 months ago, and that was integrated. I think you can kind of see a little bit about what the future kind of looks like, where you're interacting. You have kind of your agent talking to your agent, going through certain things. So that's one way I was looking at it. But there's another way where you're talking directly to the business, asking them about the questions. But forget about websites. Think about every single application that you use today. There is an opportunity to have that real-time voice component to it. And there's so many examples people are using. So I just want to stop there. I think that's like kind of what got me excited.
Yeah, that's good. Can I just add a little technical background on what the real-time API and what real-time APIs are in general? The example I'll give you that you've already experienced real-time APIs is a video stream like this one. What's happening here is everyone who's connecting to the server here is coming in through an API that's real time. It's an open socket connection, simultaneous feeds back and forth so that I can hear and I can also speak. So how's that different from a normal API? Well, a normal API is a request response model. So you issue a request to the server, it receives that request, it processes the request, creates a response, sends the response back, and you're waiting while that whole back and forth process completes. A socket connection is a persistent, continuous open link between the clients and the server. And that allows data to flow in real time without the need to open and close connections repeatedly. Now, there's a lot of advantage to that. The one that you just saw in the demo is bidirectional communication. You can interrupt. One side of the exchange can interrupt, even with a message received while sending another message. So there's actual real-time exchange, which is much more natural. That's the way our brain works. And there's lower latency because you're not opening and closing these question-response connections repeatedly. So you've already seen it in voice and video streaming applications like Zoom and Meet, and here Restream is the tool we're using. So it's instant back and forth communication. Now, what's interesting about this is that a whole host of applications that were sort of hobbled by the chat interface or voice, or speech to text and text to speech, which had to have all these delays in it, and was really, they had to send a package of things that were uninterruptible, and you had to listen to the entire thing and or stop it somehow. All of those can now change to the kind of demo that you saw here, where you're having a natural conversation with the AI. Now, open socket connections are more expensive, right? They're taking a lot more of the sort of the provisioning that's required by the service and its applications and the data centers that are doing. So that's why it costs more, but it's much more effective, particularly in an area that I'm very interested in, which is intelligent tutoring. So if you're going to be taught by an AI, you want it to be a Socratic dialogue where you can ask questions midstream and the AI can interrupt itself when it comes up with something new and modify based on its evaluation in the background of what's been said and so on. So really, really excited about the applications that will be developed with this, but we're very early days in it. As you can see, people are kind of cobbling together for the first time a major voice-capable model from OpenAI that has offered up the real-time API to it. So lots to see, lots of examples to come.
It'd be interesting too with the cookies and things that exist on websites, how much information it holds. For instance, right now I'm in the market for a new used vehicle that can fit a couple more people than our smaller cars. And obviously that's something that I'm pretty aware of because I'll do a lot of searches in incognito. Why? Because I want to do my research, but I don't want every single ad on every single website I go to be about, hey, do you want a new car, right? The fact that I'm saying it right now, I feel like is going to hurt me, right? My phone is listening to me on the desk over here. I need to shush it. But my point to that is take this now, take Realtime API and take this to that full sort of customer service. Maybe I don't even remember doing it. I was just casually looking around the web and here I am, I land on a car dealership's, a Kia dealership's website, and I decide to use the chat feature of it. And so I have a very helpful avatar. Maybe I'm seeing a face, maybe it's just a voice, but it's near real time and it sounds very human to me. And they're like, well, what can I help you out with? But I wonder with like cookies and this like memory of websites that you may or may not agree to, where it says, hey, Brian, welcome back, or hey, welcome back. I know a couple months ago, you were sort of looking at the such and such model, but you didn't do it because you had questions about this or that, or third row seating, which is something that's in my brain right now. So maybe it did or didn't have that. But hey, the new model does. It actually comes on the lower trim package, which would actually make it enable whatever. Do you want to start looking at that first? Because I know that's important to you or was important to you in the past. Can we start our journey today based off of that previous information? That's essentially what, in a very basic way that cookies can help with. It doesn't have memory like that. But I do wonder if this, Karl, when you talk about like customer service and you've worked in that field in terms of from the AI side, I'm saying, and I do wonder if that's where we're going with this, that you have this very helpful, intuitive agent, whether it's airlines or cars or just ordering food, as we just saw, but it's going to know things about me to help kickstart that conversation faster.
So today, I was going to show this. I just got an email from HeyGen on the new interactive avatar. And the funny thing for me is they positioned it as the thing that you can attend thousands of meetings and your avatar will do it for you, right?
I saw that.
So I was like, okay, I was like, I wish I had that like when I was working corporate, because I would be like, I can take all your meetings. I can triple book myself. It doesn't matter. I'm just my avatar. And whether I don't know if it's an insult to send my avatar to real me. I'm not sure. But and then Andy, when I saw this page just this morning, I was like, oh, language learning partner, difficult conversation partner. You can add every single type of avatar you can create here. So, from like, say, Brian, from a sales perspective, you've got Alec, the AI sales representative. Will I be talking to this sales representative on a Zoom, Teams, Google Meets, whatever from a company when I book a demo? And how good will that be? I have no clue, but I can only assume it's going to get better.
Okay, but that is actually an example of the price not actually coming down. HeyGen's pricing hasn't lowered to the same extent as the other, other people who come out with, other companies that come out with really good interactive thing. HeyGen is still kind of left at the top, and there aren't really good competition options there. And that was, I have to say, my experience with this in testing it is, whoa, this is an addictive substance. It's very expensive for you, Beth. No. Like,
expensive drug.
Yeah, it's kind of thing. I was like, I spent $150, like I don't even know what I said. Right, like that kind of stuff. I think it's
not Folgers in a can. It's Starbucks mocha latte, macchiato. Or I don't drink coffee, so I have no idea what I'm saying. But it's one of those sounding words.
Right. And I think that highlights kind of where I'm seeing I suspect we're going to see a lot of movement, and that is in the entertainment side. Right, one of the most engrossing part of entertainment for people right now is gaming. So if you could have fully interactive NPCs, characters, that would allow you to change and adapt the narrative of any game that you're playing, gamers will eat that up. RPGs are one of the biggest, genres in gaming. So great, we're going to have customer service agents. Great, we're going to have language learning assistants. Great, we're just going to have interaction avatars. But I think as soon as the first game comes out with unlimited storylines, because whatever you respond to the NPCs changes your story, that game is gonna it's gonna blow up. It's gonna be huge. So that's where I see that exploding for the mass audience.
I did see on the HeyGen site, and it was really interesting too. I just noticed it where it said, you can create knowledge bases for your business with any avatar. So I was like, does that mean that essentially they've created like a weird RAG system where they now connected your avatar, which isn't really that difficult, to whatever knowledge base you have? I can only think of so many different use cases for that. But then what does that mean when you can create an avatar that is connected to your knowledge base, that you can have difficult conversations with, but perhaps add agentic features to make it do stuff too? Now we're entering really interesting territory. I don't even know I really don't know where that goes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to me when I see the avatar stuff, and I don't want to get too far off of Realtime, although we're saying it's baked into that, right?
It is. They said it was using the Realtime API.
Right. It's the the visual version of the Realtime audio, right? Okay. So, but I think you have a point there, and they sort of show it as this, I think, just a stupid demo of you could attend 1,000 meetings, and I think okay, number one is, if people are cool with that, I'm not so arrogant to believe that people wouldn't like the AI version of me better in some meetings. I think that's fair. I can talk a lot. So if they really need a succinct Brian, they might just be like, give me the succinct Brian. I just need to know what he knows, Is that what we want out of society? I don't know. I think maybe. I think there's a time and a place for it. If I just take, I know, Andy, we've talked about this and the idea of helping with turnover at companies. And every time you lose, I'll say everybody, but obviously your upper management, every time somebody leaves, Mira just leaving OpenAI, there's a void that follows that, because now we don't have all of her knowledge. Now, however they might have captured that, or maybe she had a great pass along book, if you want to call it that, or whatever. But more than likely, the company is now going to suffer for a bit because they don't have that CTO in place. They don't have her knowledge base or whatever. I see it as being able to help there. But am I, as an employee at Scaled, needing my boss, Jake, with a huge, let's just call it as big as it needs to be, knowledge base of Jake behind it? Is that really the Jake I need for my day-to-day? Do I need that Jake to show up in a Zoom call with me that's like, okay, it's a really smart avatar of Jake and it does have all his knowledge? That's less valuable to me than maybe it would be if Jake was consulting out to clients and saying, let me teach you about modern sales. Sure. As long as the client knows they're getting an avatar version of Jake and they see that as very valuable in the learning aspect. But this idea of, oh, that's the Jake I would need on my call. Well, no, I need Jake about something that happened yesterday and we're trying to fix for tomorrow. So it's weird to me that they present that as the use case, because I definitely see it more valuable as learning, education, or customer service, but not necessarily, oh, you can jump on a bunch of Zoom calls and it's really not you. It's kind of silly to me.
But that's where hallucination becomes a bigger challenge, right? And the other thing that I've said previously on this call is that I think people should like actually consider the fact that you are giving your clients memories of interacting with you that you do not possess. Even if you've reviewed the transcript, they have a more robust memory of that. Right? Don't you remember you were wearing the tie and the thing and like it was in the middle of the day? You don't remember that. You did not have that experience. Like there are some of these things. But also in terms of hallucination, I think that it comes into our memory and experience differently than when we're reading it. And we're starting to get the sense that when we're reading something, we do need to double check. But I think we're back to square one with this, where we're just having a conversation with someone who seems friendly and really knowledgeable. And, oh, right, I can't go double check this right now because that's going to be a text thing. And part of the reason that I'm having this conversation out loud is because I'm not sitting at a computer or in a position where I'm going to be looking at my phone, reading it. Like there are some challenges with this that I think are just important to highlight. Again, my main point, addictive. Like, be aware of how much you're doing it.
So I can pull this up on screen. I'm going to get us on screen too here because Cisco is just saying, hey, I haven't actually used the Realtime API yet, but I would love to try it soon. Well, Cisco, you should be able to, as far as I know, I don't quote me on this, you should be able to use this immediately. So you, just for anybody listening to this, you do not need to know any coding. I know a lot of the YouTube videos have a bit of JavaScript or Python involved in it because they're function calling to that API like you would with other APIs. But you don't have to have that background. I don't have that background. Luckily, we have what's called the playground or the dashboard, depending on what you're building in OpenAI, where we can literally go play with this right now. So if you look at my screen, you can see that we're in the playground version of OpenAI. Where do you get to this? Literally platform.openai.com. And you would log in with your same ChatGPT login that you have. This is the exact same place where you would have gone in to create an API key. So if you were going to connect it to some third-party tool using ChatGPT's API, this is where you would do that. So same place. So what we have here is up in the upper right side, we have a couple more features on the right side. We have our system instructions. Now I'm about to test something that I actually don't know if it will work or not. What I did was I threw in a version of Scaled's knowledge document because I was curious what the character cutoff limit would be. And to my surprise, it actually let me put in a fairly detailed, this would be the equivalent of maybe like a 3 to 4 Google page document of the different products and services that Scaled has. So we can kind of think of this as being like a RAG system, a very basic RAG system where we have built-in knowledge and then we're going to ask it questions against that knowledge base. We also have 3 different voices that we can pick from. And if you go over here, you can hear them. We will do that, whether it's activity is disabled. Then you have some things here about threshold. This is like how quickly it will jump in. The voice will jump in to interrupt you if it hears a pause. How much audio is actually attached to there's some padding in there. And it's preset at 300 milliseconds. I didn't touch that. Silence duration, silence before the server considers the speaker to have ended. So if you pause and you say nothing versus pausing and going, there's a difference, right? One of them is a pause with silence, and you might hear the AI come in with that. Then we have function callings down here. Not surprisingly, if you look at this, you can see examples. Stock prices and weather are already listed in there. That's very similar to what we have with like assistants, and we build those. They'll usually put custom GPTs as well. They'll put the weather in there. So because I've added this, I can actually ask questions about Tampa Bay's weather. It happens to be unseasonably cool in Tampa right now. So we could ask against that and get a weather report. And then we have our familiar tokens and temperature down here. So temperature, if you don't know, is randomness. It's also what I would consider to be the creativity slider. So it's set at 0.8. Usually I will set it at 0.7, but in some cases when I'm writing like a LinkedIn post, I will set it at 0.3, just because I find that I want a little less creativity depending on what I'm doing. And then you have max tokens, which is maxed out at 4,100 tokens. So let's just give this a quick try. I have not tried it yet with the larger system instructions to it. So what I'm
Brian, just one thing.
Yeah.
The silence duration or prefix pattern, I was playing with it. If you put it any lower than like 200, I put it to 100, you will not have any time to like pause. It will automatically answer your question. It is the craziest thing. So you want to give that a shot, because I remember I was like, oh, I didn't even want that. I want completely no latency. But you have to have it because no one speaks like that. It's constantly interrupting me.
If you know exactly what you want to say and you can do it as a quick stream of thought, but you're correct. In fact, I would imagine after playing around with this, I would have to bump these up.
Yeah.
Because I pause. I'm like, let me think about what I want to say here. In this quick example, I'm going to try this live. I don't know how well this is going to work. I'm simply going to say I have a surprise meeting coming up with, I'll say, the CRO of the company Mountain. We'll use Scooter Coffee. That way it doesn't get confused by mountains. We'll use a company that should be in its training data set. We'll use Scooter's Coffee because I happen to use that one a lot. I have a surprise meeting come up with the CRO of Scooter's Coffee, and they use outreach. What scaled product or service do you think I should recommend to them? Now, it should say Performance Pulse or give me something else based on the knowledge document. So let's just see what we get here really quick. Hey, I have a surprise meeting coming up with the CRO of the company Scooter's Coffee. And I know that they use the product software called Outreach. And I'm just curious what you think the best scale product I should recommend back to them is.
That's great. Considering Scooter's Coffee uses Outreach, which is a sales engagement platform, our outbound performance management service could be a perfect fit for them. This service transforms outbound efforts into a performance-driven system, which aligns well with their use of outreach. It includes comprehensive tracking and reporting, continuous optimizations.
It says you exceeded the current quota. So let me stop this. Let's see what it says. It says you exceeded the current quota. Please check your plan and billing details. Talking about that, did I just run through whatever money was left on there? I'm not sure. I haven't really.
Probably. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah. I don't know what I will go off screen on that and tell you what I just paid for probably the 2 or 3 examples I did for that. But apparently I ran out of funds there. That's okay though. We could see really quickly how it works. And although I was expecting it to say performance pulse, it was not wrong by mentioning our outbound performance management. That is also a correct answer. So you can see pretty quickly how it may not be financially correct right now to do this, but you can see pretty quickly how internally you could create a knowledge bot like you would that now can use voice, where anybody in your company can ask questions about HR matters like, hey, when is our next day up? Or how much PTO do I have left? Or whatever. And then we could be assigning roles and administrative admin rights and responsibilities across it pretty quickly here. As soon as the price comes down to make it reasonable, you can see how you could very quickly just be talking to your company's bot. Perhaps it'll be an avatar on top of that, and it will have all this knowledge built in, which would be really, really helpful. When you think about how helpful that would be just for HR, holy moly, it's like adding 5 new HR employees for the cost of probably half of one for a year or something like that.
Yeah, so this is a case where there's an audio trained model that the model behind it is also multimodal all the way up to video. So the HeyGen example is exciting because what they're working on is an audio plus video model that can respond in real time. And that's what's necessary. You have to have an open socket connection, bidirectional communication between our panel of conversationalists here and an avatar that has one of these panels and can be listening and speaking at the same time, which is what we as humans do. Now, to do that, there's a combination of features that have to be packaged together, but that's where we're going. We're going to full duplex communication of video and audio, just like this teleconference is here.
No, I think that's really cool. By the way, it says I have a negative 72-cent balance. So I'm trying to figure out how much it cost me. I still don't have the number. I'm looking for the graph that's usually on there that tells you how much, like literally that last session of using the API I used, but I haven't seen that yet. But that is why it cut me off, because OpenAI wants more money.
And so this might be a good time. Just a helpful tip: you can set a threshold. So if you put a ton of money in because you wanted to move to another tier, not saying that you did, but someone you might know did, you can put a threshold in so they're not using all of what you just paid to get to the next tier. So the other thing that's important for this, or that I'm seeing as possibility, is, and Andy's going to know the name of this, is it Cyrano, the play or the story of like
Cyrano de Bergerac, yeah, it is.
Is the author or the character?
That's the character.
Okay, so you can have a Cyrano in your ear, right? Isn't that they were the suave, wise one? Like you could literally, for your interview, right? It's going out while you're talking, right? Like start speaking intelligently and I will come up with the answers. So let me rephrase your question and have some conversation about it, get a little bit more information. And now I'm having a good answer shared with me. You could do that with consulting. You could do that with translation, like Andy was saying, right? So like this is what's being said and now I'm going to speak. I mean, it's just like what this could do in terms of communication assistance is just kind of wild.
Except that, our attention is not as sophisticated as AI models is. We have a kind of a, not so good at multitasking listening capability, right? We only listen on one channel at a time. So I imagine that situation that you're describing, Beth, and I have on the headphones and I'm wanting the coach that's in my ear to give me real time, feedback and or instruction on what to say. I can't maintain my attention to this channel of communication and also be listening to that one at the same time. I have to interrupt it and stop and listen and then produce. So we have some attention limitations there.
Right.
Oh, I mean, we do have this.
You've got HeyGen, so you could just have HeyGen do the interview for you, right?
Yeah.
That's where we're going, right?
And listen, presenters on TV have gotten very good at this, at listening to the producers talk in their ear and not break. Like I mean, they're very talented at that. Even teleprompting is hard to do. If you ever try to do it for the first time and try to use a teleprompter, it's actually pretty difficult. It takes a little bit of training to do. So I do think about like the Cyrano de Bergerac. I mean, that's kind of the producer saying like, this just happened. This just in. Make sure you mention this. Don't say so much about that. That's all happening in their ear while they're actually still talking and having another conversation, which is pretty impressive. Where I went with this, though, is that I think of me in college. I'll tell you guys a really quick, funny story just for a laugh. I was in freshman year. I really liked this girl. She was down the hill at a different dorm. And I quite literally had just gotten back from the food hall with my roommate, Ben. And ate too much pizza. We'd gone to the gym, and then we ate twice the amount of pizza after it. It's like 9:00 at night. And lo and behold, this girl calls my dorm room phone, like in my room. And she's like, hey, do you want to go eat? Naturally, I say yes. She's like, have you eaten? No, I have not. Right. So then she's like, great, meet me at the bottom of the hill. I look at my buddy, high five, like dinner, right? Go down to the hill. She's like, hey, let's go to the Chinese restaurant in downtown Athens. I hate Chinese restaurants. I hate Chinese food. I'm not a big fan of it. What do I say to her? Sounds great. And away we go down to it. We have the Chinese food. I power through it because I am very full and now I'm eating food that I don't even like. She's like, we should get milkshakes at the grill after this. I was like, I love milkshakes. Right. So this, as you can imagine, this night goes worse for me. All right. I make it through or whatever, but it was pretty rough on me and my body thereafter. And I won't get into those details. But I almost imagine this future state where, Jyunmi, it's the glasses and it's the Cyrano de Bergerac in the ear and it's the AI and it's me, it's my glasses looking at her and her glasses looking at me. And it's like, I don't know, her facial expressions are saying, go for the Chinese, say yes to the Chinese. And I'm like, I love Chinese. And it's like, not that excited. Don't be that excited. I'm like, I kind of like Chinese. I mean, I don't know. I could take it or I could leave it, and it's like, it's looking at her facial expressions. I'm getting feedback from her. It will be a mess, and it just makes me glad to have been married now almost 20 years, not having to be in that new dating world that is clearly coming with this real-time voice and all that kind of stuff,
And Brian, you just gave a great plot for a rom-com, and let's see that movie in 5 years.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, starring Ben Stiller and somebody like that. Hilarity ensues as they all use AI to get more in touch and learn more about the other person, and all it does is do the opposite and give them horrible advice. And what they really realize is that they should take the glasses off and take the damn AI out of their ear and just be themselves.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, okay, but the irony of
more plot there.
The irony of this movie is that it won't be 5 years. It'll be a year and a half, and it will all be created with AI.
Right, exactly. Yeah. This is our 3-person Oscar, obviously, clearly. Yeah.
On a semi-serious prediction, though, I imagine with HeyGen doing their real-time avatars and OpenAI with their real-time API and like 11 Labs being able to try and do real-time, voice transition, translation, that kind of thing. I think Character AI has a great opportunity to add more features to their product offering. I think if they just put these elements in there, you're going to have a more immersive interaction with whatever character you created. So I think we're going to see something from them. We already have mentioned in the past that they're like the second or third most used or aware, AI awareness about their site in terms of visits. So, yeah, might want to keep an eye on them to see if they announce some additional features relatively soon.
Well, I think just one thing I think I was thinking about was, a lot of the SaaS tools that have bolted AI on will now look for ways to add this stuff, right? So like an Asana or something will take your meeting and connect that into Trello boards or Asana boards or new projects and that kind of stuff. So those things, I think, like the very simple aspects of it And then, I'm sure e-commerce buy straight out using your voice, things like that. Like those are, to me, I would think, the most simple interactions that people will start adding to their services.
That was literally going to be my question.
Great to just talk to my Google Docs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that I'm pretty sure is true is that this is billed by the minute, right? Or billed by time, not token, by time. And because this is advanced voice, you can ask it to speak faster, right? There are ways that you can engage with this that make it more personal for you, but also give you the ability to engage for less, right? Because it's supposed to be able to be responsive for that. So like if you're someone like me, you listen to everything on 1.5 speed, you can have that 1.5 speed conversation by setting that up as part of the system instructions.
Yeah, and I was actually looking back to see, because I know I've seen it, what the limits are and the billing rate is for real time, but I couldn't pull it up fast enough here. But I know it's right here somewhere within the
I think it's
and stuff.
$15 per hour input and $60 per hour output.
Something like that. So fun to play with, but unless you're a big corporation, this is not something that you want to toy around with too much or deploy, because it could get very expensive. But to Karl's point early on, this will become very cost effective very soon. I mean, soon meaning months, not years, so like everything else with AI, I think we would all say this, like, you should go in and have an understanding of what's current limitations are. You should start thinking forward and thinking, oh, do I have a use case at my company for HR, or do I have an external use case as maybe customer service, or do I want it to order a pizza for me, or whatever the use case is. And you can start working towards that future, knowing and feeling very comfortable that the pricing is going to come down to a point where there's a tipping point, and this makes total sense for you to deploy because it's extremely cheap compared to maybe having a human do that exact same task, and then this will obviously also help people who are working towards more agentic workflows where, to your point, I think, Karl, you said it earlier, not only is it responding to you, but it might be able to go beyond that and start carrying on tasks. And so even though you may not do this, you may be like, okay, they're talking about something that I can't really do today because of price or otherwise. I do have a use case in HR, kind of like with everything in AI, but you got to start today. You have to start playing around with the concepts of it today. You don't have to. You'll just be better off for it, in my opinion, because as prices move more towards you, as more agentic workflows come online and are available through these different APIs, you're going to be able to deploy this much faster, because you're going to have all that ramp up time of play. And so that's why we think this is so important. That's why we talk about play. That's why it's probably called the playground, is quite literally go out and play with friends like we do. We're all people on the playground together. We get together on calls that are outside of this show, and we simply play, and we say, try this, try that. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but that's how we move the ball forward.
So I wanted to just one last thing too. So I saw on the OpenAI's like pricing wise, it's it's 6 cents a minute per input and 24 cents per minute for out. But there was a chart that I saw somewhere. It's like, here's how much it would cost, $15 an hour, whatever it is. Then you looked at what is the average what is the hourly wage of someone in customer service in North America, and I forgot. I think it was just North America. It was like $25 or $30 an hour average. Then you looked at, I think it was India and the Philippines. Then it went down to like half that, or $5-6 an hour. So you could see and then the comment was, well, this thing is already cheaper than the wage of a North American worker in customer service. So from a business perspective, purely on cost, it's already cheaper to deploy this as a customer service in very specific areas. But then once it comes down cheaper and cheaper, what happens to all those customer service people working in the other countries? So this has, to me, an economic impact, like a pretty significant economic impact as well.
I agree. And we'll sort of end it there, but I agree. I think it's going to eliminate thousands of customer service jobs. There'll still be a need for it at those higher, more specific niche technical levels where just a human is still simply going to be better. And even that will only be a matter of time probably until the AI is able to catch up and be at that level too. Same thing we kind of see with coding. AI can help with basic coding, but we still need coders. Well, how long until one reaches the other? But I 1,000% agree, Karl, that if you're in customer service, then this is certainly something you want to be paying attention to. Okay, as we wrap up today, don't forget you can go to thedataishow.com, or you can just click the QR code, or rather QR code that you see on the site. I mentioned at the top of the show that you can sign up for our newsletter. It's free. You can do that. It comes out every Sunday. And we have a growing list of subscription on that. So come join the fun. And if you want to learn more about this stuff. Now, speaking of learning more, tomorrow is what we call our 2-week recap show. It's the, wait, hold on, what did we just say? And what we mean by that is, like, we've talked now about 9 different topics over the last 2 weeks, essentially. And so what we like to do is put a pause in there every 2 weeks and say, okay, hold on. We talked about a lot. Sometimes we just ran out of time. Sometimes things literally happen on that particular topic since we talked about them because it's AI and things move quick. So tomorrow, that's what we'll be doing. We'll all come back to the table. It might be about this. It might be any of the other topics. And we'll have a chance to talk about it. It's always one of my favorite shows because it's just a fun conversation. So make sure you come back tomorrow for that. And as always, join us on the YouTube live comments so you can join the fun. Thank you to Cisco, Jude, and everybody else that's in there. And with that, we will see you guys tomorrow.
Aloha.